Hi traders, it's Roberto, and this is another tutorial for the Pro Traders Workshop. And this lesson is on scalping, and I've gotten several emails on if I can put up a YouTube video on scalping. So here it is. This is a strategy I've been testing for about a year, and I'm using. I'm actually in a trade right now. Notice that there's an entry right there. So I'm up a few pips on this trade, and very simple strategy using candlestick patterns. So if you don't know candlesticks, if candlestick patterns, there's only about 10 candlestick patterns that you need to be aware of, you need to remember, and you can use the strategy. And I'm using a 1 hour chart. Usually I take this trade when there are 4 or 5 things that line up, and let me just tell you. Okay, it's very simple, it's very easy. Let me just go over it first. Bollinger Bands, pivot points, stochastics indicator set at 10, 5, and 3, MACD indicator, and of course, candlestick patterns. Without the candlestick patterns, this doesn't really work. Okay, you need to have a candlestick pattern, and that candlestick pattern or candlestick reversal pattern needs to be at an overbought or oversold condition. Okay, and what does that mean? Well, on pivot points, like let's take this trade here that I took on Friday. Here's a bearish engulfing candle at an overbought condition at R1. It's also around the upper Bollinger Band. Stochastics indicator is overbought. So that is a high probability trade setup. The market was in an uptrend for 2 days, Thursday, Friday. Then towards the end of the day, the market was exhausted. And let me see if it hit a previous resistance level. Yes, it did from back here. There's a resistance all the way back in on Wednesday. So the market would not penetrate that level. If I didn't see a candlestick pattern, I most likely would have not taken this trade. But there was a bearish engulfing candle. There was a hammer. Stochastics was overbought. It's at R1 area, which is a resistance level, Bollinger Band. So yes, that would qualify. And then my target would be the lower Bollinger Band. That would be the first target. And I think I make about 21 pips off this trade and went down about 40. And then, of course, it continued to head south on Monday. So here's another trade setup. There's like railroad tracks that appeared about 6 hours ago during the Asian session. And stochastics is oversold. And again, this is on a 1 hour chart. So you just make sure there are 3 or 4 things that you need to make sure that lines up. And I just point them out to you here. We have Bollinger Bands, pivot points, stochastics, MACD, where MACD is not always lining up. But in this case, and it's nice when it does, in this case it did. 2 lines of MACD, the crossover, there it is. So there's your trade. And we're looking for maybe 10 or 20 pip movement on these trades. Now, we're coming into Tuesday, so this could possibly be good for Turnaround Tuesday for those of you that are familiar with Turnaround Tuesday. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go back in history, just show you examples of this strategy. And it's very simple. It's easy. You just have to make sure that you're looking for overbought, oversold conditions regardless of the overall direction of the market, and making sure that there is a candlestick pattern, a reversal candlestick pattern at an overbought or oversold area, and make sure the stochastics is overbought or oversold. Otherwise, it's not a trade setup. Okay, it's not a high probability trade setup. All right, so here's a nice trade that I took. There's stochastics is oversold, same pair, euro yen, and this 3 candle pattern is a morning star. It's located at the S1 pivot point, also at the lower Bollinger Band. So that is a good trade setup. That's very high probability trade setup. And MACD lines across to the upside. Again, MACD, because it's lagging indicator, may not appear when you see a good trade setup. In this case, it did. Okay, and also on this trade, crossover MACD, even though the crossover happened like 3 hours later, it did cross to the downside. So there's a trade set up. It retraced and it went up to the upper Bollinger Band. So that's usually the target, the upper Bollinger Band. If you see a good trade set up on the lower or upper Bollinger Band, your first target would probably be the middle Bollinger Band, and then if it breaks that, then the second target would be the upper Bollinger Band if the market is turning around and heading north. And the opposite is true. If you see a strong resistance level, then you would enter a trade and exit the first Bollinger Band, which is the middle one, or the bottom, and this was the target right there. Okay. So I'm just going to use this currency pair just to show you how accurate this strategy is, just by simply using these indicators that I just told you. Here the market was in an uptrend for like 2 days, 1.5 days. Gave us a nice bearish engulfing candle at R1, and stochastics indicator was overbought. 2 lines across to the downside. It was all the way up at 80. And there's a nice run, and then the target would be obviously the lower Bollinger Band. So anywhere around here, you would have exited this trade. Okay. I could go on forever just showing you examples of this, but unless you practice, you're not going to believe that this is a very consistent trading strategy, just by simply using candlestick patterns and a few indicators. I tested this for about 6 months to 9 months, just going back in history before I started actually trading this live. Okay, here's a beautiful railroad tracks or an inside bar, because I think this bearish candle is inside the previous candle. It's at around R3, and stochastics is overbought, so that's a nice setup, and there's your trade. Okay. Again, just go back in history on any currency pair and start looking for trade setup using this strategy. Lower Bollinger Band, start looking for buying opportunities. Upper Bollinger Band, start looking for selling opportunities, and making sure that this candlestick pattern is around a pivot point, either resistance level or support. Okay. So every day there's always a trade setup. You're going to possibly be able to capture 10 or 15 pips or maybe more, depending on the move, the previous move. So if the market moved quite a bit previous to the candlestick setup, then you're going to have a nice run to the downside like here. Price went up 113 pips and gave back 50. Inside bar at the upper Bollinger Band, stochastics is overbought. And notice MACD lines have not crossed to the downside, so we don't pay attention to that because we know that it's lagging. So I'm looking for, the most important thing is that I have a candlestick pattern, a reversal candlestick pattern at R1 or R2 or the upper Bollinger Band, and stochastics is overbought. And then the next thing I do is that I count the number of pips from the swing low to the swing high. That gives me an idea how many pips I can make to the downside. And the target obviously was this lower Bollinger Band that gave us about 50 pips on this trade. Okay. So again, any questions, just email me. If you want more information, you can sign up for our Pro Traders Workshop series. It's a one-on-one private coaching sessions where I go over all the strategies, and they are recorded for your convenience. So this is basically what you get, what I'm showing you right now, but on one-on-one, so you can ask tons of questions. And it's a really very good trading coaching program for three months. So that's on the website. We also have a Pro Traders price action video series, which includes this strategy and more in detail. Right now, I'm just showing you basically how this works. Just using, again, here's a bearish engulfing candle. Stochastics is overbought. And the market pretty much rallied, put in its daily range from the swing low, swing high, 141 pips, which is about the range of the euro yen. And then the market retraces 55 pips. Okay. That's it for this tutorial. If you have any questions, just email me. You can sign up for our courses. We have several products we offer: Pro Traders Workshop, Trade Copier. Just go to fx-northwest.com and sign up. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon.